This is the Neptune 3 Plus. It's a Neptune 3 Pro, but bigger. But even this isn't the next big thing. No, this is dwarfed by this thing. This thing is a Neptune 3 Max. Mostly they're bigger versions of each other, but not quite. Let's go. First thing I want to show you is the relative size, since there's absolutely no hope of getting these three printers on camera together. They're too big. Here is the Neptune 3 Pro's bed, and here is the Neptune 3 Plus's bed, and here is the Neptune 3 Max's bed, and here's a benchy for scale. So what's the same and what's different with these three printers? Actually, the 3 Pro has less in common with the Max and Plus. First up, let's look inside and you'll see why. There's a thingy here on a board. This, if I'm not mistaken, is a MOSFET to control the heater. The 3 Pro didn't have this with its smaller bed. Both of the bigger ones do, and this means that they also have a different power supply too, a more powerful one. But there's another difference. Do you hear this? Exactly. The 3 Plus and the Max both have complete power down of all fans while idle. The Pro is quiet when idle, but it is not silent. It still has the fans on the PSU. The Plus and Max also have these bracers, which makes sense really with the bigger beds. But the Max has taken this to extremes with bracers on the bed too. If you notice here as well, there are indeed 6 leveling screws. This actually isn't a problem. The menus guide you through the aux leveling process just fine. And the auto bed leveling, which is still inductive on all machines, which is great. This means that you won't even have to really think about the screws once you've set them through the menus initially, unless you move the printer or anything untoward happens to the bed. It's an interesting difference though. The original Pro had no screws at all, which would make sense actually for the Max especially, given that the large print area could potentially be heavy enough to put pressure on the springs. A solid mount would have seemed more logical, although the pressure isn't actually technically on the springs, it's on the screws. But anyway, I guess they had reasons, whatever those are. They do seem to know what they're doing when they design their printers. The main boards are the same, I think, through all the models, with the slab of the base of the Plus being large enough to hide several Raspberry Pis in, not just one, and the Max has enough room to practically park a vehicle inside. If you want to add your own boards for Octoprint or whatever, then you will have no problems at all finding places to put them. All models still have the LED lights and filament sensor along with the same extruder, which, as you will know if you watch previous videos, I rated as one of the best everyday extruders out there for PLA or flexible filament printing. Unfortunately, all models are still using the same PTFE-based hot end lining, which limits you to 240-ish Celsius with that stock setup, but there's been a few people testing out metal heat breaks for this printer, and as I speculated in the Pro review, you can in fact apparently change out the hot end for an all metal one. So I'm going to try this here, and this is in the script before I do it, so we'll see how that goes. If you want this heat break, then I'll link to it below. It's just a standard Ender 3 size. It's not for the S1, it's for the original Ender 3 and Max and V2. So these should be fairly easy to get hold of just about anywhere. I've done the usual tests on both machines. You can see the results on screen here. Pause if you want to. I printed this model on the Plus and Max just to kind of really prove that these big printers can still print small things. In fact, there's not a lot of difference between the respective print qualities between printers. There probably is if you start printing particularly quickly, but at the default speeds, in the real world, you don't really see it. This is a model made by a good friend of mine. You will find a link below. It's already been provided free to this channel's patrons, so we've been having some fun with this spring for the last few days. It prints with absolutely no support needed, so see if you can figure out how that works. So let's talk about the firmware. Actually, Elegoo have already shared the firmware source code for these printers, which is 2 thumbs up from me. Normally it takes some time to get these available, and I guess probably because it's actually the same build for the Pro, Max and Plus. It's just some parameters change. In fact, it's just one parameter change that is in the source code. I'll try and show that on screen. I've already used the source code to make a build with probe repeatability tests. This is for a video coming up on probe repeatability, obviously. So hopefully I'll be able to get that soon. I'm testing across all probes and seeing just how good they are. Anyway, I can confirm that the source code works on all machines. In fact, all my machines are actually currently running a rebuilt version of the source code provided by Elegoo, so it's all good. In the Pro review, I did mention the lack of linear advance, and at this point I believe it's included in the latest build. I haven't had time to really look into it. It's not in the menus, which was a bit disappointing, so you have to set it via G-code, but this is a perfectly valid way of doing it. I feel like they might add it into the menus eventually in the same way that, say, Sovol do, but if you know what you're doing, you can work with this as is, and you don't actually need that. I will note this down for a future video, which a few people have asked me for videos on linear advance, so I do intend to do one. I think that's about all I want to say for these 2 printers. I do recommend that you look at my original Neptune 3 Pro review, because that's what this is adding on to. I think the majority of people will probably choose the Plus out of all 3. I'm not necessarily telling you to, I just think it's probably the silent fans on idle, and it seems the right compromise in terms of size versus, well, size taken on a desk, I suppose. But if you do a lot of large items, then the Max is out there, and if you only do small items, I mean, to be honest, like me, I don't really often print large items, then the original Pro is actually perfectly fine for that, and it takes up a lot less space. Let me know in the comments what you think, as always, and there's links below to the products if you're interested. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.